1980s horror films had two consistent threads: anthologies and Stephen King adaptations. These threads sometimes intertwined, most famously with the Creepshow movies in 1982 and 1987. Slap bang in the middle of these films came Cat's Eye in 1985. For this film, King himself wrote the screenplay, mining his short story collection Night Shift for two of the tales, and inventing a new story for the grand finale. All three segments are loosely connected by the exploit of a cute little cat. He travels the United States by paw, by train, and by hitchhiking in the back of trucks, all in search of a little girl in distress, whose voice inexplicably calls to the cat.
What the f-?
Unfortunately for both the helpless child and our heroic kitty, the animal keeps getting waylaid and thrust into other adventures to observe and sometimes act on the sidelines. The first segment is Quitters Inc., which follows James Woods as a man so desperate to quit smoking that he signs up for a special program. Unbeknownst to him, Quitters Inc. is essentially a criminal organization that goes to extreme lengths.
Boogie down, baby.
Woods is put under constant creepy surveillance and is informed that even a single puff of a cigarette will result in terrible consequences for his closest loved ones. Segment number 2 is adapted from the short story The Ledge. It sees a gambler who is blackmailed by his nemesis and forced to walk around the very tight ledge of a high-rise building. Finally, the third tale unites the cat with the distressed child, played by Drew Barrymore, who is convinced that a troll lives inside her bedroom wall and wants to suck out her breath. Cat's Eye is not close to being one of my favourite instances of Stephen King on screen, but I do think it is a solid example of the writer's style as a whole. If there was someone out there who somehow knew absolutely fuck all about Stephen King, maybe they live under a rock, maybe they live in Drew Barrymore's bedroom wall, Cat's Eye would be a decent starting point. I believe King's greatest strength is in his concepts. All three stories here prey on universal fears, whether that is the threat of being forever watched, fear of heights, relatable childish night terrors, and the folklore trope of monsters that climb on your sleeping chest. King is adept at tapping into these sort of things. However, whether it is on the page or on the screen,
meteor ship!
He is also goofier than Goofy in a Goofy movie. The scary ideas are set up, allowed to brew in suspense, but are then almost always undercut with a slice of dark but corny humour. It is hit, and it is miss. The stalked James Woods listening to every breath you take is a nice touch, which does not detract from the overall scenario, nor does the key transition from a missing finger to a cooked sausage. The worst offenders come during the ledge. The situation is nightmare fuel for someone like me, with my crippling vertigo. But every 30 seconds, the tension is squandered for silly jokes. Even the more realistic dangers, such as the pecking bird, literally end with a comedic beat. Well, hey, that's part of the style. Part of the fun, I suppose. This was rated PG-13 in America, and naturally, it feels very toned down compared to prior King adaptations up to that point. The real horror, gore, or overt sexualization from other King works being absent here allows this dorky side of his nature to shine a bit less egregiously. For fans of the author, there are references dotted about all over. Characters watch The Dead Zone on TV, or read Pet Sematary in bed, while both Cujo and Christine make direct appearances in the opening scene. In terms of the filmmaking, you've also got Louis Teague returning as director after previously helming Cujo, and Drew Barrymore, of course, was in Firestarter. Even notable shooting locations from Maximum Overdrive crop up. Overall, it feels like one big amalgamation and celebration of modern horror's most famous writer.
Meteor ship!
If I had to choose a favourite segment from Cat's Eye, I lean towards the final story with the cat and the troll. For a start, I just love this damn adorable cat. The more of him, the better. I get a giddy kick every time his little electro theme tune blasts out. It's composed by Alan Silvestri and is melodically reminiscent of his Back to the Future score, which he most certainly must have been working on at the same time. Drew is also a little star, outshining many of the adult actors in the film. But of course, there is also the troll itself. This is where the film drops all pretense and savours the campiness. Forget Rambo, forget McClane, and all those 80s dudes. Now we know why our feline friend was telepathically hired as the bodyguard.